Hey everybody, welcome to your content consumption. This is going to be available to everyone. Normally this is a Patreon exclusive, we just garbled down content. Normally this is a Patreon thing, but I did a couple games with the patrons this month, so I'll make this available to everybody. We needed some YouTube content. Here it is. Content consumption is where me and Clay talk about stuff we've been consuming outside of Star Trek and horror and Batman, the animated series, which are the current podcasts that are running. Clay, do you want to go first? How are you?
I'm good. When you told me we were going to do this, I got a little bit worried because I feel like all I've been doing lately is stuff related to our multiple shows. Mm-hmm. But then I remembered that I went to the movies for the first time in over a year to see Kong versus Godzilla, which I enjoyed very much. I have the same, I don't even know if the word issue is applicable to a movie like Kong versus Godzilla, but like, yeah, the human stuff is stupid. And
well, wait a minute. Let's before you get to the movie, what was the experience of going to the theater? Do you have to wear a mask sitting in the room the whole time?
The rule is, the official rule is that you have to wear a mask unless you're eating or drinking, but yeah, right. But there were, including us, I think 6 people in the whole theater. So, you know, we weren't sitting near each other. So
the guys who came in did the thing that they always do in non-COVID era, where they sit right next to you, even though the theater is completely empty.
Yeah,
and you're like,
yeah. But could you imagine a movie theater employee trying to enforce a mask thing? Like, they don't, you know how many movies I and other people have jumped around to without paying for tickets or like snuck food in? You think they're going to manage to stop you from taking your mask off?
That's right. I guess the mask would help you do that. You'd be a little bandito character just sneaking around in between the theaters, and they wouldn't be able to.
They don't get paid enough for that shit, man.
So was it a normal movie theater experience otherwise? Was the movie theater not busy at all? Was every theater 6 people full?
It was dead. Like the whole, there was like, yeah, I would say, I mean, let's put it this way. Before we went, I looked on Fandango to, you know, to see if I needed to buy tickets ahead of time.
Old habit. That's the way it worked, yeah.
And when I pulled it up on Fandango, at the time, there were no seats.
Yeah.
No seats had been purchased yet, yeah. And when we got there, it was, maybe 6 people total, and it was just, the lobby was dead. I saw maybe one other person walking around. We did actually get one person who came in about halfway through. I don't know if they were just late or if they had finished their last movie or whatever, but that still happened.
Sat down?
Yes, and stayed for the rest of the movie. But yeah, I mean, it was, aside from the fact that there was nobody there, it was pretty, you know, and everybody's wearing masks and shit. It was pretty normal.
Yeah.
It was, as my girlfriend said, we've been stuck at home for a year, spending a lot of our time watching wrestling, and our first excursion out to the movie theaters was to basically go watch more wrestling. Yeah, because that's essentially what the movie was. It was Godzilla and King Kong in a wrestling match.
You know,
killing millions and millions of people.
I was looking forward to it, and then just recently, the other day, I watched some clips on YouTube of it. I was like, I don't think I like this movie. I don't like the way they move in the movie.
Oh, really?
Like, this is a weird thing, but I don't like the way Godzilla looks. Does he look okay? And he looks kind of goofy to me. I don't know how to describe it. He looks like too cartoonish or something. I'm not sure how I would describe it.
I honestly didn't notice. He looks more or less the same he has for the past 2, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say like it's why I was kind of scratching my head a little bit at people who were complaining that the story was bad or something, where it's like, if you watch this fight scene, first of all, what you're saying is the reason I waited and I wanted to see it in the theater, because I was like, I absolutely refuse to watch this movie on a TV or a computer, because it's built to be big, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, if you watch the fight, there's this unbelievable fight sequence where the two of them, well, 2 plus 1 more, but I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, fight in Hong Kong, and they absolutely destroy Hong Kong. Like, they kill millions of people.
Sure.
Which never comes up. And Nor should it, honestly, in this movie. But like the
They don't
physics.
have a line where the general's like, "We evacuated the city," and then Ken Tanabe or whatever says, "Let them fight."
Yeah, I mean, like they kind of give that lip service where they, every now and then there's a couple shots of people running away or something, but you're not escaping that. You're dead.
Right.
You're dead. But like the physics of what they're doing doesn't make a ton of sense. But honestly, who cares? Because it looks great. Like there's
The physics of the fighting, you mean?
yeah, like you've got Kong as like jumping between buildings like Spider-Man, and it's like if he jumped on one of these, the whole thing would crumble into pieces.
Sure. Yep.
And then later on, he actually, in my favorite part of the movie, he dislocates his shoulder, and before he gets back into the fight, he uses a building to pop his shoulder back into the socket. And it's like just doing that, he probably killed 300 people. But it's that kind of thing where it's like, yeah, if you want to see Godzilla and King Kong punch each other in a city and destroy the city, I mean, I don't know what else you could want from this movie. Also, there's a Hollow Earth subplot, which I loved because, you know,
Yeah, I saw Godzilla drills down or something to the earth.
It's the stupidest thing ever. They make this huge deal about not being able to get into the Hollow Earth without this special ship because of the reverse. Like at a certain point, gravity reverses, and if you don't have something to handle
if you
that,
throw
you
a
get
rock
like
into the middle of the earth. Does it just go back and forth until
yeah. And if you don't have something, it like crushes you into a singularity or some shit. And so they make a big deal out of that. And then later on, I'm watching this movie going like, okay, so they're down in Hollow Earth. Kong is down in Hollow Earth. Somehow they need to get Kong back up there to fight Godzilla. How are they gonna? And then Godzilla atomic breaths a hole into the ground and drills down into the center of the earth, into the Hollow Earth. And then King Kong jumps his way up out of the hole. And I'm like, yeah, man, I mean, I'm here for it. I don't think you can really bring like a structural critique to this movie if that's what they're doing, you know?
Sure. Was it worth watching?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was great. It was, again, if you want to see a ridiculous movie where two gigantic guys punch each other, two gigantic monsters punch each other, you could do worse. You know, I would say it's like, I loved Pacific Rim. I thought Pacific Rim's non-monster stuff was some of the worst movie I've ever seen. It's terrible. It's awful. The dialogue in that movie is atrocious. But, you know, I still had a good time watching them punch each other. So,
what percentage of this movie is monsters punching each other?
I would say
Were
like
you frustrated by it, where you're like, when the fuck are they going to start punching each other?
No. Well, I'm the kind of person, I really liked the first Godzilla movie, where they were kind of playing coy with that stuff until the end.
Yeah. You mean the first the very first Godzilla? Yeah.
No, like the first new one, like the one from like 2014.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I love that one too. I love the original one. But like, I know a lot of people were pissed off because there wasn't enough monster fighting or Godzilla in it. And it's like, well, I mean, it's the same way there's not enough shark in Jaws. They're doing it for a reason, you know? Like, for instance, in that one, it's a big deal when he does his atomic breath thing. Like, it's a big deal. Like, they spend he doesn't do it at all, and then he does this big like power up thing. It's really cool. In this one, he's doing it like he's in Contra, where he's just
Makes more sense.
Yeah.
I always wondered why he didn't do it more often, seeing as it's virtually unstoppable. They never really make an energy thing either about it, like, you know, kills him or something to have to do it. It drains his life force.
Right. They do some weird shit with it in this one that is just like, you just got to kind of go with it. Be like, all right, sure. But yeah, it's I don't remember what your original question was. Oh, did I feel like there was not enough? No, I think there's plenty of monster fighting in it.
Okay. I'll watch it on HBO maybe when
yeah.
Is it going off that service or something? Was it only available for a month?
Yeah, I think it's until the 30th.
Okay.
However,
I'll do that soon.
I am very excited to watch Mortal Kombat this weekend.
Yeah, that comes out this weekend.
Which I feel like they've been threatening us with a new Mortal Kombat movie for 20 years, and now it's finally happened.
As you said on the Discord, the teaser trailers things look interesting. A lot of CGI blood. No practical effects.
A lot of CGI blood. Yeah. Which I feel like we could have a whole another conversation about why I don't love that, but I understand it, but I think it it's the John Wick effect for me, where when everything becomes CGI, there's no weight to anything.
Yeah.
So like, you shooting all these guns, doing stuff, but there's no kickback because they're just basically going.
It pulls me out because of how clean it looks. There's no, it's like it's algorithmically generated. It looks like you expect. There's no blood capsule kind of fired weird on that take, and so the blood just does something strange.
Sometimes they do, like the ones where they take their time with it. Like I still think The Departed has some of the more disturbing, like, headshots that I've seen in a movie, and that's all clearly CGI, but the way that they do it is just like weird enough that it's disturbing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hogged all the time there talking about giant monkeys and
no,
lizards.
That's fine. I have mine, which we can talk about. You talked about King Kong. I generally don't buy a lot of albums, but I haven't bought one for this one either, but I listen on Spotify. I've been listening to...
it's a weird lead-in.
I'll broach into a new album that I bought, but I have not bought the album. I've listened to it enough on Spotify where I think that they should have all the money that an actual album would cost, my penny at a time. But like, it's been a couple weeks of listening to Joe Strummer's posthumous greatest hits solo work album.
Oh yeah, I saw you talking about that. Yeah,
it's called Assembly, but it's rare, and I'll bring it up just because it's rare that an album comes out where I listen to it like every day, the whole album for a couple weeks, and it's been that case. And even the nerds over at Pitchfork gave it an 8 out of 10, which is basically perfect for them. But it's really good. It grew on me. I'm having like weird emotional reactions to it. Like, it made me realize how much I miss Joe Strummer, and like just the Clash never had a chance to get back together and ruin it before he died.
Right, right.
Like
yeah.
the band, the Clash, will always just exist as the band that they were from 77 or whatever till 85. And there was no... And in some ways it makes me kind of... like you start thinking about like career paths where it's like you have your big career with the Clash, and then they all do solo stuff. And his solo stuff was obviously never as big as the Clash got, but arguably he did his best songwriting as a solo artist. But all the clips that you watch of it are him playing in small clubs and stuff, because it's at the end of his career, it's playing that kind of stuff. And it's like sad but celebratory at the same time to hear the greatest hits album version of it. It's just a weird album. It was nice to listen to something over and over again, but I'd highly recommend everyone, if you like Strummer or you like, there's a lot of like 80s influenced rock, I would say, along with the typical Clash, like reggae sound and stuff on it too. But it's probably 15 tracks and maybe 12 of them are bangers, I'd say. So it's
nice.
Well worth listening to.
And he died pretty early, right?
2001 or 2003, maybe something like that. Early.
Yeah,
2000s.
he couldn't have been that old.
He was 50 something.
Yeah, yikes.
Undiagnosed heart condition, which
is
really always what gets you. Yeah.
Yeesh.
But his the final album with the Mescaleros, which were his band, came out posthumous. So he died, and then his final album came out. But the final album was the one that everyone was going crazy for, the critic wise, just saying like it's a good note to go out on. But that was it. Just me thinking about career paths and stuff like that, and good albums. Is there an album that you've been listening to repeatedly recently? It's so rare at this day and age with Spotify and everything. It never happens to me.
It's funny because Spotify, when I was in college, I guess high school, but more college and post-college, in the heyday of illegally downloading your music, or iTunes or Winamp or whatever you're using, I was big, iPod in the car. I was big on the shuffle function.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, quick interrupt. Did your college have an infrastructure and population big enough where everyone's music was available to each other over the network? Not like officially. There wasn't anything specific in place. No, I was getting most of my music from other people that I knew, but not necessarily people at college. At UMass, UMass is just a huge school, obviously, and it's all networked together. And someone had designed a program that you could share your folders on your PC on the network, and this device, this software would search the available computers for it. It was a very primitive networking system, basically.
No
but like anyone could do it. So if you had all your music, but it was like a proto internet in the sense that it was very simplistic and there wasn't endless selection. But at the same time, you were on college T1 speed bandwidth lines, right? So the songs would just download instantly to you and you could listen to them. But it was like thinking it was the future and then getting into a weird place where it's like, now I have infinite selection, but I'm on like a 56K modem or whatever to download and it slows down a little bit. But I was wondering if other schools did it because it was huge on UMass. It was all I would do would just browse people's media bins.
No, I don't think enough people at my school could organize to the point to pull something like that off. We were art school was very cliquey, and there wasn't a lot of overlap for that stuff. And also,
it's just everyone's portfolio that you can browse.
Yeah,
like look through their works.
And also, it's like at a school like that, there's going to be so many people who have their own things that they listen to and like look down on what other people are listening to. And I say that as someone who probably did that himself. I know I actually got a lot of mine through Instant Messenger. Used to have a function where you could essentially do that. If inside your,
that's true. Yeah.
On your PC anyway, on your folder for your Instant Messenger, there was a download folder. Yeah. And you used to be able to go into whoever was ever on your friends list and just download whatever they had. Mm-hmm. And it was great because everybody who had music, you just kind of go and browse through and download and, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But what I was getting to is with the advent of Spotify, I don't really do that anymore. Spotify, they've kind of brought playlists back, and they push them on you quite a bit, and they're nice as if you need it. But like if I'm Spotify, I found it difficult to do stuff like that for a long time, so I ended up listening to more straight through albums. So it's like you end up checking out what's going on with Meatloaf. You're like, oh, I'm going to listen to Bad Outta Hell. Then all of a sudden it's like I've listened to all 3 Bad Outta Hells and everything in between because I just didn't shut it off. Yep. But as far as stuff that I've listened to over and over again, when I was writing Bloody Hell, there was I would totally butcher his name if I tried. It's like Wojek. I can't even try it. He had this. He was a sort of like a synth music, kind of moody, kind of atmospheric music. He has an album called shit. I've listened to so many of these groups that they all kind of blend together. I think it's either him or it's Pentagram Home Video. I can't remember which one it is. There's an album called Walpurgisnacht. And it's like music that has that sort of like, as if you were reading Dracula while you were listening to this, it would fit in really well. And I listened to that probably, I don't know, 100 times while I was writing just because it was like the perfect kind of like mood music to put me in so I could focus on that stuff. Yeah. And then most recently, as I was finishing up Bloody Hell, I listened my way through my 3 favorite Carly Rae Jepsen albums on the other end of the spectrum from that first thing I talked about.
We'll finish
but
maybe.
That's the thing I've actually noticed now is when I come across, I think maybe it's because I don't come across new music that I really like as often as I used to. I'll grab an album, and if I really like it, I'll listen to it like 10 times or something. That'll be like the thing I listen to for the week.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I'll probably be like, I don't like this anymore for 6 months. And then I'll come back and I'll be like, oh, wait, this album was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you go through cycles. I go through, it's like I'll listen to the album straight through. Then you go through your shuffle era of the album where you're like, I'm going to shuffle the tracks and see what happens then. Then you come up with your favorites. And then a couple listens later, you're like, no, these are the best songs. Actually, I was wrong originally. It comes down to this. And then eventually you get tired of it. It's just
I'm proud that I think for 3 years running, my most listened to album on Spotify has been Premonition by Survivor, which is the second album from the band Survivor, the band most famous for doing Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
Fantastic album. Highly recommend it, especially as it's getting warmer out. Throw that on when you're driving in your Camaro with the windows down and you'll have a good time.
Is Spotify recommending you year playlists, which I think is interesting? They're doing it to me.
Like from 1972 or something like that?
They'll say, this is your mix of 1987.
Really? Interesting.
And it will be 87 songs, which are obviously I'm interested in because it's algorithmically deciding on it. But it's just kind of fascinating to listen to a year of songs and go, these all came out in the same year. This is a wild world that we live in.
Looking right now, I get the daily mixes.
Yeah, I get those. 1 to 6.
Yeah, which I like, except they all tend to be the same songs, just shuffled around.
Yes, yeah.
And so, like, I'll put one on as I was doing layouts and stuff. I would listen to a lot of those lists, and like on day 3, I'm like, I've heard this same fucking song like 8 times.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's weird that they switched them up and they changed the days, but the songs largely remain the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it knows what you like, and it just kind of mixes up what you listen to a lot, and it's like, you love listening to this, so listen to it in a different thing. But that's it. I recommend those. So that's it. I had the Assembly album from Joe Strummer, and then Clay had King Kong and Going Back to the Movies and all that. That's your content consumption. This is what you can get on Patreon every month. This will be a one-time thing for this one, I think. You get
if you can't live without this.
This is now on YouTube for this month as a tease. And we also covered a whole bunch of other stuff on the Patreon. What the hell did we do this month? We did Tholian Web. Predator was the movie. Yep,
and,
Predator, Tholian Web.
We'll have, Amanda and I will have Friday the 13th, the final chapter up in the next week or so.
Yep, part 4. That's it. Patreon.com/The Penske File if you're interested in that. It's windy out. I don't know if it's windy by you are, but the house is like
it was
shaking.
Crazy.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
We got like a massive rainstorm and thunderstorm too out of nowhere for like 45 minutes.
We had heavy rains, and then I went on. I was like, it's like this is flood situation. And I went on Twitter, and the guy's like, Worcester has 1/10 of an inch of rain. I was like, I don't think this is correct, but we'll see. I'll have to wait till the actual official tally comes in. That's it. Thanks very much for listening, guys. See you later.